Welcome to the Mom and Dad Are Talking podcast, where we put the kids to bed and talk about whatever we want, however we want.
Today we got a pretty interesting conversation, and I'm excited to do this one because we're discussing a movie that has got a lot of attention in the urban community, and we didn't want to do it too early because didn't want to spoil it for people.
But it's been out for about a week.
So you had your chance to see it.
Right.
So we ain't gonna feel guilty at all about having our conversation.
Here's our spoiler warning. If you have not seen the movie Queen Sim, written by Lena Waithe and directed by Melina Moustakis, then it is time for you to cut this off, okay? We are going to be diving into heavy spoilers, so go ahead and say bye-bye if you do not want to be spoiled. If you're ready, let's do it.
Yeah, so it's a pretty interesting story. We'll give you a quick synopsis. A young African-American male and female couple on a date. And First date. And things go for a drastic turn when they are pulled over. And a couple of incidences occur. And basically, the law enforcement officer is about to shoot the female character.
He did shoot her.
Oh, actually, he did. And he was shooting at her because he thought he was in fear of his life.
Which is funny because she said, "I'm reaching for my cell phone." But
yeah, but you know how that goes.
You know how they are, yeah.
And the male African American gentleman, he pushes the officer so he doesn't get a very clean shot of her to damage her. And in the midst of the struggle, he ends up shooting the officer
and killing him.
And of course, they're on the run.
Right. They make a snap decision to run. But I wanna go to the beginning of the movie. Now, we have to admit, we were about 5 minutes late to the movie because we had to get our snacks. But we were 5 minutes late to the movie, so we didn't actually see the date portion of the movie. But we did read lots of articles kind of telling us, and we could piece together what happened in the date, and it was not good. It was not good.
Yeah, it wasn't a good date, and but nevertheless, it caused a lot of people to have feelings about the female character.
Yes.
But we kind of gave you the synopsis, and we don't want to simplify the event, because what the movie really kind of talks about, and you can tell me what you think it's about, is the relationship or the strained relationship between urban communities and law enforcement. And how this strained relationship of police brutality, framings, different things like that. I mean, we can go on and on. Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland. We can go on and on about individuals that have had pretty negative interactions with law enforcement. So this movie kind of delves and touches on those things because it kind of asks the question a little bit, I think, of the reader. What would have happened had those other individuals kind of fought back and defended themselves? So there's a lot to unpack in this story, but one of the things I think I wanted to talk about first was I love the way the movie was shot.
It was beautiful.
It was very cinematic, and there was parts where when they were on the run and they got the car, they went to the uncle and they got the car, and the way they filmed it, they made you feel like you were rolling with them, like you were in the car
with them, and there was a sense of, I will say that people have complained about the pacing of the movie and the length of the movie, and a lot of the shots did not need to be in the movie because it was just scenery and music, and they're basically like on this slow road trip, like there's no sense of urgency, but that for me gave me the feeling like I was there. Like I remember sitting in my seat being like, oh my God, we shouldn't be doing this. Like what do you mean we? I'm not in the situation, but I felt like I was because of the pacing and because of the things that they stopped to do during being on the run from the police.
And then even just the way they shot it, the camera angles. I'm so big on camera angles, and they had that one song playing. It was the what was this? Slipping on football. Yeah. So you had that song playing. So that brings up memories of just cruising and chilling. And then the camera angle goes and it shows the rim of the car. Then it shows the side of the car.
And then it's playing Alameda by Solange Knowles.
Yeah.
And
Cameron's
Roy Ayers. I mean, you just had this mix of, and then there's this very interesting part. I mean, I don't know why we're not saying, because we said spoilers, but there's a protest going on, and cinematically, it's after Queen decides to go and visit her mother's grave and talk about how she ended up defending her uncle against killing her mother, and they. Pretty much you see her have this vulnerability, from a character who hasn't really shown any vulnerability. You know, she actually admitted being scared. I think that was the turning point for her. You know, many times in interviews that I've seen with Lena Waithe, she said that, you know, their North Star in the beginning for Slim was Martin Luther King, and Queen was more like the Malcolm X version. And we can see that in the beginning of the movie. But then I think that was her turning point where they switched roles. And she became more vulnerable and soft. And it just reminded me of a lot of how Black women, we have to have this shell around us because we feel like we have to protect and advocate and for everybody. But just going back to my point of the scene where they're having the protest and she's talking to, after she talks to Slim about the death of her mother, they were making love in the car, and just the music that they were using, and they had those two scenes together. And I thought that was a very interesting choice, because to me, artistically, I thought in my mind was, you know, I didn't mind seeing, you know, Daniel Kaluuya in that way, because I think he is just fine. Not finer than you, but, you know, I wasn't hurt by it. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean that was,
but it
that
just
was an example of,
like we kind of live. I mean, we have to have some joy somewhere, right? Even with all this chaos going on, we have to love each other.
Yeah, it talks about the complex nature of just existing in America as a Black person, because you understand that you have all of these outside threats that you're having to deal with, but how do you navigate that and still live a life where you're not constantly in this heightened sense of urgency? And it's and then even that steamy sex scene that everybody talked about, that was just an example of, again, of the art and just how they shot the video. And even the scene where they were in that bar, the juke joint, and it was just the music, the camera angles, the dancing, the music, just everything about it, how they shot it.
The feeling of you're with family.
Yep,
and you don't have to worry about anything. You're with family, and you don't have to worry about anybody judging you, calling
the police
or anything like that. And it was very much the barkeeper. She very much gave me that enjoy yourself, young people, you know, type of vibe from her, and it was beautiful to see them like have that opening up of just, okay, let's just becoming a couple, slowly becoming a couple. Not a couple, but falling in love. Because I'm still thinking, was it the circumstances that made them fall in love? Did they actually fall in love? Was it something that, you know, they were just in a situation together that they needed to just hold on to each other, and maybe that was why they did it? You know, if they weren't in that situation, would they have fallen in love? I don't know. And
that's a good question. You know, it leaves a lot to be examined. I think kind of going along those lines of love and relationship, I was reading an article in the New Yorker, and they said that early buzz around the movie pegged it as a Bonnie and Clyde tale for the Black Lives Matter set. But that would be an entirely different film from Queen and Slim. Bonnie and Clyde is a story of two outlaws who are fleeing justice. Queen and Slim is a mediation on a system of justice that treats innocent people as outlaws. And that was, to me, was a very interesting quote when I read that, because people are pegging it as these outlaw people on the run, when really it's about a person or people of color just literally trying to survive in a system that, if you're just frankly honest about it, wasn't designed for them. And the impacts is in so many different ways. When you talk about the criminal justice system, people of color have the highest rates of all type of diseases, heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure. We have the lowest life expectancy rates. So you talk about just existing and living, it hits us in so many different spaces.
The stress of existing and living while black in America.
Yeah, it's pretty. Go ahead.
And just to go off of that, I read somewhere, and these are the exact feelings I have as a teacher when I go to work, or and I was telling you this, I think yesterday, about when you and our son go in the morning to go and, you know, take him to school, or you're going to work. There's this thing where when you've been through a trauma, or you've constantly seen a trauma on TV, or, you know, seeing, you know, Tamir Rice being shot on footage in a park when he's just playing, and, you know, hearing, you know, just things that you take in for trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you have to do in order to go on and live your life and not let that trauma affect you? And I posed that question a couple weeks ago on Facebook, when they had another mass shooting at a high school, and I teach in a high school, and it's like, how do I go to work every morning and not be afraid to go to work every single morning, or not be afraid of you walking out of the house and going on about your day, going to work, my child going to school, you know, every day? How do you not do that? How do you deal with that anxiety? And
and I
what you do is you pretend and you lie to yourself and saying, this is not going to happen to me, in order to go on and live your life.
Yeah, and it's an interesting, just like what you were saying, paradox, because you know that as a person of color that you have to really be focused, but sometimes it's like you literally walk outside the door and your focus is on, how can I survive today? And you think about, okay, how can I avoid law enforcement? How can I not put myself in a situation where I'll be in danger? And I think that type of mindset.
Sometimes I don't think you even have to think about it. I think your body just kicks in, and does these things. Makes you have these habits to where it is making you avoid certain situations or do this. And
I think a lot of people of color feel like that could be me. There's sometimes you see incidences in the news, and you're like, that could never happen to me, or that's such a rarity. But I think that when you talk about incidences like this, people of color could really feel it, especially when you constantly see it on social media. You know, they talk about post-traumatic slave disorder, and some people say no, it's actually current, because when you see a social media post of literally vividly seeing somebody get shot and killed, when you see a social media post of somebody getting hurt or being abused by law enforcement, or just in general, whether it's not even just law enforcement, but violence perpetrated by other individuals of the same race, or just other things going on, it really could put you in like that situation where it's kind of like you're in this heightened sense of just being and awareness, and it could be dangerous for your body.
Yeah, and just how, you know, you have to put yourself in a mind frame in order to be able to just function. Go
to work and act like everything is fine. Parent, do homework with your kids. Just act like everything is okay, and deal with all of these additional stressors. I think another thing that I saw that was really cool in the New Yorker, said they said there is a great number of other implications to this story. It said the brilliant inversion of a slave narrative in which two people flee from a northern free state into the deep south to seek freedom. The thorny and complicated ways in which other African Americans respond to them en route, a twist in the middle of the film that unsettles any sense of moral simplicity that the viewer might have indulged up to that point. And I just thought that was crazy, because I didn't think about that they were actually fleeing from like the north,
going deeper south,
and going deep south, and then along the journey they had these different people black people helping them out. It was like being on the railroad, you know, this is a safe house, that's a safe house. You go here, they giving you those resources. Like when they were in the juke joint, they were like, you're safe here. When they went to see her uncle, and he gave them a car, gave them money, gave them clothes, gave them what they needed to get going.
To the white family
Yeah.
And they, were able to. He tactically was like, he knew they were there. Queen and Slim, they didn't even know that they were there, and he could see the guys coming through the, what was it, through the windows.
Yep.
And he was just like, because he's a Marine, right? He was a Marine. He hit them under the floorboards. And I thought that was amazing because I remember reading slave narratives where they escaped. And that's what they did. They hid under the floorboards of houses. So it was just crazy to me. And it was so funny because I really thought the wife was going to rat them out. Because she was saying the whole time, well, $250,000, that would pay off our mortgage and blah, 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 blah. And she said nothing. She said nothing. And I even think of to myself, like, could I have sat under those floorboards all night, not moved, could I have done that?
Yeah, you probably, I think you could have, if that's the situation that you're dealing with. And and then when they actually tried to leave the house at that point, and the officer caught him. Oh. But the officer, even though he was a law enforcement officer, and they, what is the code of blue that they have for law enforcement? I think even that scene was trying to show that there's supposedly like a code within law enforcement where we're blue, but even within that there was a hierarchy within of the blue. And that African American officer was being talked to very rudely by the white officer.
He was telling them, like, I'm not your boy. I'm not your... Yeah. These dog whistles that, we're being told we're too sensitive. And it's like, you don't know what it is like to have somebody say something that is so passive aggressive to you.
And insensitive.
And insensitive to you. You don't know what that is like.
Yep. And it was just crazy. And so he sees them getting ready to leave, and he gives them a nod, like, hurry up and get on out of here.
He was like, motion them out, like, go this way. And I was surprised, like, what? They're going to have to kill another person. Like, I was like, oh my God. But, and that gave me hope. Like, I feel like, oh, they're going to get away. They're going to be fine. Oh, God. It gave me a false hope.
And they got away, and they were driving, and they met up with the individual that had the plane. And that's when probably, I think that scene there where the guy that was supposed to be helping them out and dropped them off actually double-crossed them and took the money, and I guess
he didn't double-cross him.
What did he do?
He was, I saw... on Instagram, Lena, she asked somebody asked the question of Lena. I guess she didn't expect her to answer. I wonder, did he just happen upon them, or was that the guy that they were supposed to meet? And Lena Waithe answered and said that guy just happened upon them. That wasn't the person that they were supposed to meet.
So that's okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. But I think there's a controversial element in that a little bit.
But that's been going on in a lot of black movies lately.
Yeah.
Even in Harriet. Like, I mean, here's my thing. Even in Harriet, if you're going to tell the story, tell the story. Black people we're not this one way. And I think black people are so caught up in respectability politics and how we look in front of white people that we can't feel like we can't fully tell our stories and show us as full people or show us as flawed people. Just like Uncle Earl, he was a pimp and he had some issues, but he also was this dynamic character who helped them, and you know what I'm saying? So it's, to me, it's like I didn't mind how Queen acted when I saw that part where how she was acting the date. Now I did mind, but I felt like if you're gonna show us.
Yeah, and I think you're touching on some of the controversies that some people had, which was her character initially was this angry black woman, so to speak, but then some people were even blaming her for the entire situation, saying she was the cause of all of this happening, and that had she just kind of been a little bit more strategic and trying to be kind, then the whole situation wouldn't have happened. So I think that was definitely one of the areas that was controversial. And the second thing that I've kind of heard people say was when the guy, I guess, when the guy who was supposed to be dropping them off at the plane called law enforcement and decided to take the money and turn them in, some people said that black people can be their own worst enemies sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought about that, and I saw that. I was like, wow, like, if you had a chance, if you were in that situation, would you turn them in for $250,000? Would you help them escape? What would you do? And I look at it on many different, layers.
Because look what happened to the mechanic and his son. Like, what would you do,
Yeah, and that's it's
I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, it's a tough situation,
to be in. Yeah. Now she did have one of her clients got sentenced to death. So that whole he didn't even have a chance. He didn't have a chance, so
yeah, I think as a whole.
So she was angry. She was mad. She had a lot to be mad about.
Mhm. Yeah, it just shows the complex life of some people of color, and in America, and I guess one of the final kind of controversies that people were talking about, and this isn't something that's just not for this movie, but a lot of some of the most popular black movies in general, is what appears to be the casting of people of color from other countries to represent the black experience in America. So in the movie, what is it? Get Out.
Get Out.
Get Out, Us.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, just a lot of movies in general. You have actors from Europe, actors of color, playing characters or individuals who are supposed to be African Americans. And some people are questioning, can those individuals really understand the experience of systematic racism?
My question to them is, do you think that black people around Europe, all over the world, they're not facing systematic racism?
Mm-hmm.
That they can't,
mm-hmm.
that they can't feel
or understand
the effects of systematic racism, police brutality, and
mm-hmm.
and all this, and over there, you got deep rooted colonialism. So I mean, what are you saying?
Yeah, and to be honest about it, I don't know how I feel about it. I understand the argument because there's a side of me that the messenger of the message is important. And it kind of makes me think about the whole Martin Luther King, not the Martin Luther King thing, but what was it? I'm sitting over here drawing a blank. I wanted to say Harriet Tubman. I don't know why Harriet Tubman's on my mind. We talking about, you said Harriet Tubman, but Rosa Parks.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't the first woman that refused to sit down.
It was a 15-year-old girl, Covetta Calvin. She was 15.
Pregnant.
Pregnant out of wedlock.
And dark-skinned.
And dark-skinned. And she couldn't be the face of the movement.
And they chose to go another route to find someone to be the face of the movement because, once again, the messenger of the message is important. Mm-hmm. So when I think about that, I kind of wonder, is there a bit of the experience
lost
when you have other people play those roles? And I'm to be honest, I'm on the fence. I don't know, because just like what you said, systematic racism impacts people of color all throughout the world, period. It doesn't matter if you're in Europe, even if you're in the continent of Africa, if you're in the Caribbean, people of color are constantly dealing with systematic racism. Mm-hmm. So I think that there will be a level of understanding there. But like you said, it's kind of like when somebody tells a message, you remember we used to play those games where it might be 15 of y'all and then you whisper a message into somebody's ear, and then by the time it gets to the 15th person, even though
the message is completely different,
it could be different, or the message could be close, but it's gotten paraphrased, it's gotten changed, the sense of urgency could have changed in the message. It's been distorted a little bit. And so I could see how some people would say, why is it that we continue to have people from other countries playing roles of individuals trying to highlight the black experience in America? And I think it's a good question. Some people argue that, oh, they're better trained. Some people argue that it's because the pay. They could pay them less. I don't know exactly what it is. I just know that there's a controversy there, and some people are concerned with this trend. Even Samuel L. Jackson brought it up. And I think he later apologized for it, but he questioned the same thing.
So let me ask you this. If you could cast any actors that you know, if you could cast the role of Queen and Slim, who would you cast it to?
You know what? I'm not good with actors' names. I am not a name person. I forget people's names all the time. I wouldn't dare say who they should cast in the movie because I think they did a good job with the movie, and I think the directors and all the people that played a part with it. I wouldn't dare want to insult anybody, but I would say that it's an interesting trend that we're seeing. And I think there's another. What's the other movie that's coming out that everybody's excited to see? I'm trying to think of what it is, but it's happening again in that movie. In that movie where they're casting. God, I think it's the same guy that played in this movie. They're casting him in that movie. But,
the Fred Hampton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing again.
Well, I mean, Daniel Kaluuya is just an amazing actor to me. There's just
he's a solid
something
actor.
About how he's able to, I don't know, react, or I don't know. I just think that he's a really, really great actor. He was really good in Widows too. He was really good in Widows. But I didn't mind it. I want to ask you about the relational aspect, or not even the relational aspect, because we spoke on that. I want to talk about the what did you think about the car stop? Do you think it was her fault?
The car stop?
Yeah. Do you think that the police pulling them up, do you think it was her fault?
I'm going to say this, and this might could save somebody's life. I've had incidences happen with me in law enforcement where they were not the picture perfect scenario. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine when I was younger, 19, 21, 22, 23. I was really into loud music. I had 12-inch subwoofers in my car. I replaced all the inside speakers in my car, tweeters, all of this kind of stuff. So you could literally hear me down the block, boom, 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 boom. And I used to play my hip hop and I used to play my R&B. But I got so many loud music tickets coming up. I got at least 6 of them. And in Cali, loud music tickets are like $300-$400. I literally paid $3,000-$4,000 throughout my time in live music tickets alone. But I remember one incident where I got pulled over for a live music ticket, and the police officer asked me to get out of my car. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I getting out of my car for a loud music ticket? Wasn't speeding, wasn't doing anything dangerous, running a red light, anything like that. Why am I getting out of my car? And I remember he told me to get out the car. He told me to sit on the curb. And then they come over and they ask me, can they search my car? And I was young at the time and kind of ignorant. I was 19 years old. And I knew that I had nothing to hide. I was a college student, that type of thing. And I said, yeah, you can search it. But we all know how that goes. They could have planted something in my car. My life could have been different. But they searched the car, didn't find anything. And I remember the officer looked me in my face and he said, we're going to let you go. And he said, are we all right? Are we cool? And basically what he was saying that I pulled you over for a live music ticket, made you get out your car, searched your car, didn't find anything, but I let you go if you cool and willing to shut up about it.
Yeah.
And check this out. They didn't give me a live music ticket. Didn't do anything, but I often think about what would have happened had I tried to assert my rights. No, you can't search my car. No, I'm not getting out the car. I didn't do nothing right. Why are you pulling me over, officer? What's going on?
And there's been a couple of times that we've been pulled over together, even like when we were 19, 18. And my thought was always just be quiet. I'm not going to say anything.
Because it's about survival. It's
Yeah.
about survival and not trying to prove
And
a
I'm
point.
not about to make nothing worse.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how I feel. Because I want you to live.
Yeah, because what's the point of proving a point if you're gonna die?
If you're gonna be dead.
You know, and I think it's sad that it's that way, because I've seen videos where I remember I saw one video. It was a white lady. She got pulled over by law enforcement and she started name calling. Well, you're gonna lose your job. What's your badge number? I know Judge such and such. I know this. And she was just very belligerent and ignorant.
She lived though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and didn't get handcuffed, didn't get hands put on, anything like that. So it's always something in the back of my mind. And your question was, was she wrong? Was she at fault? I don't know. And I don't want to blame her because the officer was wrong, but at the same time, I'm not all law enforcement is bad. I've had jobs where I had to work very closely with law enforcement, and there were great law enforcement officers. But at the same time, I've also seen law enforcement officers abuse their rights. Abuse their
Power,
authority. And I also know that there's some law enforcement officers, they actually want you to get belligerent, because there's some people, they enjoy that I get to put my hands on you. I get to put handcuffs on you. I get to antagonize you. I get to put you in the back of the squad car and take you down to the jail. And even though you might be right, now you gotta sit in there for 24 hours, 48 hours. Some relatives gotta bail you out. You gotta pay some money. Now you gotta go get an attorney. Now you gotta go to court. And it sounds good. I'm gonna assert my rights and do all of that, but that could turn into $5, $10, $15, $20,000, or it could turn into you even dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to feel about it. I see a lot of these things where they, know your rights, know how to stand up for yourself, and I think that you should know your rights, but also think that there are some times where
you just need to come home.
It's about getting home.
It's not even about rights at this point.
Yeah, it's about getting home. You got a kid. You might have a kid at the house, a wife at the house, or or vice versa,
now,
husband at the house.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
If they say they want to search your car, ask them first. Well, I'll let you search it if I can record you. Don't be stupid.
Yeah, but me personally, I'm not letting anybody search my car.
Well, yeah.
Recording and all. It's just now that's my mindset. But I'm not trying to give no legal advice. But
he was cold. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold.
But once again, but some individuals are looking for a reason to have a negative interaction with you. I've seen it. I've experienced it. When I think about those officers that put me over for that loud music ticket and made me sit on that curb, they wanted me. They wanted me to say, nah. They wanted me to start cussing. Because now they get to say, you're resisting arrest. You're being violent. I had to do that. And they get to put their hands on you because this was in the age of there was no body cams. And even now, officers are wearing body cams. They're turning them off. They're acting like they don't work. And this happened to me in the age. And really, it happened when this was before cell phones had all these fancy cameras and stuff on them. It was it would have been my word versus theirs.
Yeah. In so many situations. Yeah.
Yeah. So to wrap this thing up. You want to give me your final thoughts?
My final thought was with her is that what I took for is I feel like a lot of times black women, we're not allowed to have bad days. We're not allowed to have negative feelings and have, just days where we just can have the span of emotions. Because the consequences for us doing those things are just so like life or death. It's not like, a regular, like a white woman or Asian woman can go around having these types of attitudes and have those whole spans of emotions and have those negative consequences. It's like the black women, we have this whole thing where we can't feel the whole range of our emotions because it's a life or death situation a lot of times for us. So I say go see this movie because it's very thought provoking. It gives you a lot of things to talk about within the community. I think they did a great job writing it. I think the score is beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful. The two brown skinned people on screen loving each other. It's beautiful. The ending is tragic but beautiful. I mean,
yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it was a good movie. I think it's definitely something that individuals should see.
Don't go see it on a date though, first date.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. You know, the other thing is I think it's important to try to see movies that try to capture the complexity of the black experience in America. I think too often you see movies that just want to capture a very narrow perspective of it, and they rely too heavily on stereotypes for corny laughs and things like that. So whenever you have a movie like this that kind of does a better job of showcasing the black experience, I think we have to invest our money in that and watch those kind of movies and support those kind of movies. So overall, like what you said, I like the movie. I really enjoyed the way it was shot, the camera angles, even the choice of music that they decided, where they decided to shoot at different locations. It really made you feel like you were on the run with them. Like I felt like I was in the backseat running too, giving them advice. Yo, we should or shouldn't do that. So I think it's definitely something that people should watch. I enjoyed it. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to the podcast.
Yeah. Subscribe, yeah.
Show us some love. Put a comment. You know, we like to have a conversation.
Tell us what you think about the movie. What was your favorite scene? What was your favorite piece of dialogue? What was your favorite song?
What would you have changed?
What would you have done in that situation? Let us know what you think, and
then also, I mean, put it down there. Like, have you ever experienced something like that, where you had a situation, like with law enforcement or something like that? I would be curious because I think we've all had something like that, and I think it could be therapeutic and healthy to share it, get it off your chest.
Right. So thanks for listening to Mom and Dad Are Talking. Look forward to more movie reviews, book reviews, and hope to see you guys soon.
Now I know you, know I know we been through it, and we had to share some hard times and a couple fights that felt stupid, and we had enough of them haters hating, trying to tell us we cannot do this, but we here now. Every time you come around, I'm reminded why we still do it, and we do it, we do it. It don't matter how they feel, they clueless, it's just you and me for life, so I guess that's why you tattooed it. We got 2 kids, they the cutest, and I feel so good, I feel foolish, and I'm here for whatever you wish, cause this love from God is the truest, cause we own. We don't gotta spend a dime just to have a good time, we just get into our zone. It don't matter what I got, where I'm at, as long as you close to, girl, I feel home. And there's only one you, only would be, never could be no clone. If loving you was right, then girl, I don't wanna be, girl, I don't wanna be wrong. And it ain't about the sex, ain't about the way you get dressed, but it's cute though. You ain't got nobody to impress, looking like a hot mess. Still I gotta confess that you got my respect. Yeah, you got that. Your girlfriend's mad, tell him stop that. You got the ring, now girl rock that. You got the song, now girl knock that. I got 2 words for you, girl.